She wouldn't tell him, not until it was time to leave. She would carry that secret with pride. Now, with her phone in hand, she opened her browser and began searching, how to make a man desire you even more. She smiled. So what if we're in separate rooms? She thought. I'll fix that too. I'll find a way, without making him angry. And with that, a new fire lit up in her heart. Melvin went into Anita's room and opened her closet. He wasn't sure what she would prefer to wear, and he felt awkward picking up her underwear. In the end, he settled on her robe and returned to his suite. He handed it to her and said, I didn't know what exactly you'd like to wear, so I brought your robe. You can wear it to your room and change. Anita smiled warmly. Thank you, sir. Melvin raised a brow. Why are you smiling? Did I say something funny? Anita shook her head. Nothing, sir. It's just, you seem a little tense, like I'm the boss and you're the maid. Melvin shook his head with a playful huff. I'm not tense. Now go get ready, young lady. I expect you back here in under 30 minutes or I won't be pleased. Anita nodded and rushed off. Melvin sank onto the edge of the bed. He glanced at the bloodstains on the sheets and exhaled. Who was he fooling? Anita was beautiful, sexy, and sweet. Last night wasn't a mistake. He knew what he was doing, but he hadn't been able to stop himself. He was drawn to her, had been ever since they began sharing the same space. That was why he moved to another room. He knew Anita wanted to please him out of gratitude, and though he had rejected her offer earlier, it hadn't been easy. He didn't want her to get too attached, or worse, fall in love with him. She claimed not to understand love, but he doubted that. If he kept sleeping with her for the next 5 months and then sent her away, the guilt would eat at him. He'd feel like he had taken advantage of someone innocent. He couldn't keep her either. Not as a wife. He didn't love her. Attraction wasn't love. Savy had been the only woman who'd stirred his heart, and she'd betrayed him. Maybe one day he'd fall in love again, and when that time came, he didn't want to be bound by guilt or a relationship built on pity and obligation. Meanwhile, in her own suite, Anita brushed her teeth, then put on a figure-hugging yellow gown Melvin had bought at the mall. She considered applying makeup but didn't want to run late. She settled on red lipstick, combed her hair quickly, and hurried back. When she opened the door, she found Melvin sitting in the living room with his legs crossed. He was already dressed, looking as refined and handsome as ever. He smiled when he saw her. Impressive. 20 minutes. Here, take this pill. It'll help you feel refreshed until we get your lab results from the doctor. Let's go. Anita obediently took the pill with a glass of water. As they exited the suite, Savy watched them from behind her door. When she saw the faint red hickeys on Anita's neck, her expression twisted in fury. She clenched her fists and hissed under her breath. Really, Melvin? You needed sex so badly you had to turn to Anita? Let's see how long you'll resist me. Knowing Melvin, she hadn't believed he'd actually sleep with Anita. But clearly, she had underestimated the maid. She composed herself and decided to hold off on interfering for now, especially since Melvin would likely involve the police. But she was far from done. At the station, Melvin and Anita made their report. The officer assured them that an investigation would begin immediately. Based on the information provided, he believed Anita was the target. Before they left, he gave her safety tips and promised regular updates. Melvin couldn't shake the thought that one of his rivals was trying to get to him through Anita. He told her they would return home in 3 weeks. In the meantime, he planned to hire a bodyguard for her. From there, they visited the street where his car had been damaged. Melvin inspected the vehicle and called a towing company. He didn't see the need for a new car since they'd soon be leaving the city. While Melvin was on the phone near his car, Anita stood across the street, admiring him quietly. She loved the way he talked, the way he looked, how confident he always seemed. She noticed a car approaching slowly from her left, but thought nothing of it. Her attention went back to Melvin, until she saw the car speed up, heading straight for him. "Sir!" she screamed and ran into the street. She pushed him hard, just in time. The car sped past and disappeared into the night. Both of them crashed onto the ground. Anita scraped her hands badly, while Melvin's phone screen shattered. He stared at the retreating car and memoized its license plate. His face darkened. "Are you okay?" he asked, rushing to her side. Anita nodded, trembling, as tears ran down her cheeks. Melvin contacted the officer they had met earlier and gave him the license number. Then he called for a private cab and took her to the hospital. There, as a nurse cleaned Anita's wounds, she cried even harder. "I'm not crying because of the pain," she told Melvin when they were alone. "I'm crying because your life is in danger. And it scares me. I don't want anything bad to happen to you, sir." Melvin wiped her tears and pulled her into a hug. "Nothing's going to happen to me, Anita. I promise. We'll take every precaution. You're not going to be alone anymore. Once we're back at the hotel, I'm moving back into your room. I need to be able to keep my eyes on you." Elsewhere, Daniel paced back and forth in frustration. When his phone rang, he snatched it up. "Well," he asked. "It would have worked," the voice on the other end replied, "if that girl hadn't interfered." Daniel's face twisted with anger. "Next time," he growled, "send them both to hell." After hanging up, Daniel immediately dialed Jasmine. The moment she picked up, he snapped, "Where the hell are you, Jasmine? And why aren't you back yet?" Jasmine rolled her eyes, lazily pacing her hotel room. "You know I'm with my bestie, Daniel. So why are you acting like this? I get it, you miss me. Just be patient. I'll be back soon." When the call ended, Daniel scoffed, gripping his phone tightly. "As if I don't know what you're up to," he muttered coldly. "Just wait. Once I get what I want, I'll toss you like the garbage you are." Melvin hired a cab and brought Anita back to the hotel after the hospital visit. He led her to her bedroom and asked her to rest while he went back to his suite to pack his things. As Anita lay on the bed, she watched Melvin putting his clothes into her wardrobe, and despite the pain in her hands, she felt a deep warmth in her heart. She was still afraid for their safety, but having Melvin move back into her room felt like a dream come true. Shortly after, there was a knock at the door. Melvin opened it to let in 3 well-built men. Anita walked out of the bedroom, surprised to see them. Melvin turned to her. "These men will be our bodyguards for now," he explained. "2 will follow you any time you go out, and 1 will be with me. I know it might feel strange at first, but this is the only way we can protect ourselves until we find out who's behind all this." Each man introduced himself to Anita, and she offered them a grateful smile. "Thank you, sir," she said to Melvin afterward. "Thank you for thinking about my safety." Melvin waved off her gratitude. "It's what I'm supposed to do. I have a meeting later today, here in the hotel, so you don't need to panic. Just call me if you need anything, all right?" Anita nodded. "Yes, sir." After Melvin left, Anita drifted off into a nap. But not long after, she jolted awake, covered in sweat, her chest rising and falling rapidly. She had dreamt that Melvin had been harmed. Without wasting time, she got dressed and searched the hotel with the bodyguards following closely behind. She finally spotted Melvin in a lounge area, laughing and having drinks with 3 well-dressed men. She stopped at a distance, just watching him, eyes full of emotion. When Melvin eventually looked her way and saw her standing there, He excused himself and came over. "Is everything okay?" he asked with concern. "I had a bad dream," she confessed. "You were hurt. I needed to make sure you were safe." Melvin chuckled softly. "You care that much, huh?" Anita blushed. "After everything we've been through, how could I not?" Melvin shook his head with a smile, clearly touched. "Come with me." He reached for her hand and led her to his table. Anita's heart skipped. This was the first time he'd ever invited her to sit in on a business meeting. Not because she had to, but because he wanted her there. "This is my wife," Melvin introduced proudly. "She had a bad dream about me being in danger and came all the way here just to check on me." The men chuckled and greeted her warmly. "She's clearly a keeper," one of the men said. "She must really love you." Anita blushed again as another man filled a glass of wine for her. "Let her have a drink to calm her nerves." Melvin gently took the glass from him. "She doesn't like alcohol. I'll drink on her behalf." More laughter followed. Anita leaned in and whispered, "But you're still on medication, sir. You shouldn't be drinking." Melvin smiled. One of the older men caught her whisper and laughed. "Did she just call you sir? What are you, a soldier?" Melvin chuckled and wrapped an arm around Anita's shoulder. "My wife finds it romantic," he said. Then turning to her, he added teasingly, "I've told you to stop calling me sir, but you just won't listen." Anita looked flustered. "Then what should I call you?" "Call me baby," Melvin said with a smirk. The table erupted in laughter. "You two are adorable," one of the men commented. "You remind me of my wife and I when we first got married." After the meeting ended, the men wished them good night and left. Melvin and Anita walked back to their suite hand in hand, unaware that Jasmine was watching from a distance. As she saw them disappear down the hallway together, her lips curled into a cold smile. "Enjoy it while it lasts, Melvin. Because come tomorrow, you'll be mine again." Back in the room, Anita opened the fridge and took out a few apples. "Would you like some apples, baby?" she asked, testing the nickname. Melvin stared at her and grinned. "You don't have to call me that when we're alone. But I won't lie, it sounds cute when you say it." "Say it again." Anita giggled softly. "Would you like some fruit, baby?" Melvin laughed aloud. "You know how to keep me smiling, Anita." "No, I'm good." Anita returned to the bedroom and ate a few apples. Then, she looked at the bruises on her hands and smiled. As painful as they were, they had brought Melvin back into her room. That was all that mattered. She spent the next few minutes watching their wedding videos on her phone, grinning to herself until she heard Melvin approaching. She quickly turned off her phone and pretended to be asleep. Melvin showered and changed before settling on the couch with his laptop. He worked late into the night before finally dozing off. He was woken up later by the sound of Anita screaming. Melvin jumped up and rushed into the bedroom. She was tossing and turning, caught in a nightmare. He gently woke her and sat beside her, rubbing her back. "You're safe. It's okay. It was just a dream."